Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. You want to grab a seat? My name is Scott Miller. I serve as the superintendent for School City Hammond, and I am your host tonight. Welcome to Jefferson Elementary for Mayor's Night Out. So I just want to thank you. I appreciate your support of the School City Hammond. We still have around 11,000 students that come to our schools every single day and are the future of the Hammond community. So with that said, let's give a warm welcome to our Mayor, Tom McDermott.
Thank you, Superintendent. Appreciate you. I want to also thank Jefferson Elementary School and Principal Dr. Denise Eisman. Thank you very much, Principal Eisman, for letting us use Jefferson Elementary School. I want to introduce our 5th District Councilman, and I want to thank the 5th District Councilman for all the help over the years, getting things done, and let's give a warm welcome to our host councilman today, Councilman Dave Warple.
I'll be brief. You know, every year at this time, I always try to get out and walk, and this year's been no different, and I guess that's from my mailman days. I get to hear from the residents and know what concerns them, and as a whole, there's really been no complaints. We've got a lot of streets done. The most recent was 6700 Alexander, Mahoney Drive, and the one that I heard about since the day I took office, which was, I call it Oxbow Road, but I think it's 179th. And then we got one little minor project over here on 170th Street. I do want to say that the one thing that I hear all the time is people ask me about when we getting lights, when we getting lights, when we getting lights. And I always ask them, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want to know the truth? And they say, well, tell me the truth. And I said, you know, in 2020, we were hit with the pandemic, which dried up the gaming money. And we had to get creative, working with the mayor and his staff and the council. There was no way with the money each district was getting, we could get any projects done because the boat money had dried up and it's still down in that. So we created the Capital Improvements Board, and it's been a different way to do projects, but the projects are evaluated in its entirety on an as-needed basis. And the other problem with the lights and the money with the gaming money is they went from about $50,000 a block to over $100,000 a block if we can get the poles. So what I've tried to do is take our existing lighting. If people want an extra light, I offer them. We'll get it through NIPSCO or whatever and keep the trees cut away, so at least the streets are brighter. But it's not like we don't care that, hey, you're not getting me lights. That's not it. It's just the priorities, and I feel like the district is taking shape. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank these city workers, because I am a big pain in the butt. Well, especially when I'm on the street and people want something, and when I call in, it's a day or two before people's issues are being dealt with. And I want to thank the Public Works, the Park Department, every department head up here for all the help in making the 5th District be a success. And I want to thank the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. It's great to hear from you again. We're going to go ahead and introduce the department heads, and then we're going to jump into Mayor's Night Out. I want to remind everybody that Mayor's Night Out is driven off of questions. We have written questions over here with Alex. Alex over there. If you have an issue you'd like us to follow up, this is a perfect opportunity. We ask that you fill it out with your name and address, only because if we want to follow it up with you, we know how to find you. If you don't want to put your name and address, that's fine, okay? But we can't follow it up with you personally if you don't put your name and address. That's the only reason. If you want to just say, hey, people are speeding on my block, or hey, this house, and I don't want to put my name to it, no problem. We'll still read the question off at Mayor's Night, okay? But the only reason we ask is so we can follow up. We made that clear. Once we run out of questions, Mayor's Night Out's over. I've been doing this. When we first started 20 years ago, we did it every month, and then we went down to every other month because we had 6 districts. So we did it every other month. Is this a scheduled one, or is this a makeup? Okay, because I know we missed one because I had the audacity to get COVID on the day of Mayor's Night Out, and we decided not to hold it that night. So thank you, everybody, for coming out. We appreciate you. And who's going to start? This is Sharon. Sharon runs personnel, college bound, and tonight She's our special events coordinator. So Sharon's gonna, when she comes up to you, I got Kim and Sharon both with microphones. If you have a question in the audience, let's say we're talking about police, and it's about policing in your neighborhood, and there was a question over here, and you had a question about policing in your neighborhood, just raise your hand. Just keep it on topic. If we're talking about policing and you're like, hey, what's going on with the South Shore? We ask you, if you're going to change the topic, to do it by written question. When Kim or Sharon come up to you and they hold the microphone in your face, they're not trying to be rude. We're taping it. People are watching us right now. Usually a couple thousand every show watch Mayor's Night Out, so we have to get a good tape for them as well. So if it seems like they're being rude by jamming that microphone in your face, it's not so I could hear you, so the TV audience can hear you. Okay? So, hi, Sharon.
Good evening.
College-bound personnel.
College-bound personnel.
Nice.
Sharon Daniels.
Okay, let's go.
Chris Campbell, Information Technology.
Jim Talon, Park Department.
Juan Moreno, Economic Development.
Andy Short, Police Department.
Megan Moore, City Controller.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Ann Anderson, Planning and Development.
Lavita Sparks Wade, United Neighborhoods.
Bob Vale, Building Department.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Kevin Smith, Corporation Counsel.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
I'll drop it.
Ron Novak, Environmental Management.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Nicole Sullivan, Port Authority.
Kelly Kearney, Inspections Department.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Marty Wilgus, Hammond Sanitary.
Owana Miller, Community Development.
Chris Sacaleras, Legal Aid.
Felix Gonzalez, Public Works.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Nicholas Farrell, Code Enforcement.
Jaime Prieto, Water.
I like to show off. One of the things I do, I only hire Hammond residents. I've been doing it for 20 years, proud of it. I'm looking around, and lately in Mayor's Night Out, I've been asking to identify people on the stage that are from, in this case, the 5th District. So please, out of the department heads that just introduced yourself, if you're a resident of the 5th District, raise your hand. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so we love you in the 5th. We love all districts. I do this every time, and there's always a few people that raise their hand in every district we're in, because that's all we hire is Hammond residents. So only makes sense. It's like if I got hired by Ford and I showed up on the first day of work and I was driving a Chevy, it'd probably be a pretty dumb move, right? I tell that to my residents when I hire them. I say, you work for the city of Hammond, you got to live in the city of Hammond, and I don't blush when I say it. So it's worked for 20 years. I find excellent employees, and it'll keep working for the next 20 years, hopefully. So anyway, I'd like to introduce Kathy, our interpreter. Thank you very much, Kathy. I'd like to thank the elected officials in attendance as well. I know we have our North Township trustee, Adrian Santos, here. Thank you very much, Trustee Adrian. We're going to do a topic in a couple seconds here about the raid event that we had in North Hammond. I know we're in the 5th District right now, but this is a major event. I want to talk about it because this is Mayor's Night Out. Mayor's Night Out covers the whole district. So I'm going to get into that. I know Trustee Santos wants to mention a couple things about it as well, so thank you for being here, Adrian. I also want to thank our elected officials in attendance, starting with our council president, Councilman Scott Rakos. Thank you very much, Councilman. County Councilman from Hammond, Dave Ham. Good to see you, Dave. Our 4th District Councilman, Councilman Bill Emerson. Thank you very much. Councilman at Large, Dan Spitali. That's all I got. I'm looking around, make sure we didn't miss any. Okay. Current job openings, we like to give this out. We do have a lot of people that watch this show, and we have job openings for CDL driver, Hammond residents, laborers in the water department, Hammond Housing Authorities looking for a service person, which is like a handyman, right? Yeah. Handy person, not necessarily man. Kennel master and animal control, if you could work well with animals, we got a job for you right now. Correctional officer, police department, all right? Hammond residents, or willing to become Hammond residents. So those are great. Next Mayor's Night Out at Edison Elementary School, 4th District on October 11th. We got all of our business out of the way. I have notes for this part just because I want to make sure that I'm accurate in the statistics I'm giving about a rain event that happened on September 17th, I believe was the date? Yes, sir. It was. Thank you. This is basically from a presentation I gave to the Hammond City Council on Monday. Yesterday, There was an appearance by my department heads at an event in North Hammond where much of the same message was given that I'm giving tonight at Mayor's Night Out. And it's a message that I don't want anybody to check out on, because this is a message to all of us. If you got through this last incident dry, and the residents of 5th District were dry, it barely rained here. But in another part of our city, we got 4 inches of rain in less than 2 hours, which equals to about 250 million gallons of water that went to a plant that's designed for 70 million gallons. And when that happens and the entire system fills up, stuff starts going backwards into basements. In this case, we have procedures where we could spill over our plant. So let me get a little bit into it. I'm not going to be as comprehensive as I was the other night and we were last night. I know last night the meeting was well over 2 hours. We're not doing that today. This is Mayor's Night Out. We have multiple topics, but I have to choose this right off the bat because it's the biggest thing going. In the city of Hammond, it's the one that's taking most of our attention currently. So I'd be remiss if I did not cover this. So please bear with me if it doesn't affect you. And if you think it doesn't affect you, I beg to differ. I think it does affect you, okay? So 2 inches of rain. So on on September 17th, the North Hammond section of Hammond experienced a severe rain event. Here's a brief overview of that event. 4.24 inches of rain fell in the impacted area. Basically, the impacted area is what we call North Hammond. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to explain it. It's just south of Robertsdale. A lot of people think that's North Hammond, but it's south of Robertsdale, okay? North Hammond experienced an intensity of rainfall of 1.05 inches in 15 minutes. That doesn't sound like a big deal. But when you magnify that over a 3 square mile area, which is very conservative, it's probably more. The engineer and I were calculating it out, and we decided to go with 3 because it's conservative, really conservative. I think it's way bigger than that. We just couldn't calculate it out accurately. So, total rainfall of 2.6 inches in an hour. 2 inches of rain across 3 square miles equals 110 million gallons of water. We had twice that, all right? Hammond Wastewater Treatment Plant has a wet weather design capacity of 68 million gallons a day. And I just told you 220 million gallons is heading for a plant that's only designed for 70 million gallons. Wastewater treatment plant during this storm picked up capacity up to 100 million gallons. They literally flooded the plant. They flooded their parking lot. They did everything they could to keep the water out of the system, to take the pressure off the system, because when the system becomes pressurized, if you live in a part of the city like I do, it's called a combined part, which is where your waste from your sinks and your toilet goes to the same place as the stormwater. The waste from our house is not very high pressure-wise. When the stormwater comes in with a ferocity of 4 inches in a 2-hour period and it's pressurized, and you're sending your waste from the house into that same pipe, sometimes things go backwards if you're in a combined area. Dean, if I'm making a mistake, please step on me. Dean's a professional engineer. He passed this, it's like being a lawyer. You have to pass a state exam for doing that. So Dean obviously helps us a lot on this. Well, in this area, we experienced 4 inches of rain. In this area, I want to make clear that all of our equipment at the Hammond Sanitary District functioned properly. Every pump was running, every valve was open, there was no loss of power, there was nobody called off of work that day, everything worked perfectly. And yet we overflowed the main plant with around 100 million gallons, which is 30 million gallons more than they could have. We also built recently, I know most of us have seen it right there on Columbia Avenue by the sanitary plant, the big pit on the west side of Columbia Avenue. That's called the CSO basin, right, Marty? Get a microphone closer to you, please. The guy of the hour, he's got a microphone 2 blocks away. CSO basin's what, 50 million gallons?
30 million.
30 million. And you flowed at a rate during this storm of, I want to say 400 million gallons, that rate, but 70 million gallons actually went through that basin, right?
That is correct.
If we don't have that basin, where does that water go?
It's going to find ways into basements.
So we had 500 plus basements back up during this intense, severe rainstorm,
That is correct.
right? If we don't have that 70 million gallons that we diverted, that's how many more basements? Hundreds?
At least
Thousands?
probably several hundred,
So
easily.
that's good news, but nobody wants to hear that because
Right.
there's still a failure. We still backed up into 500 some odd houses, right?
Right.
Now, we've been talking a lot to residents about this and what you could do to protect your home, and I'm embarrassed. I'm your mayor. I've been preaching for 15 years about protecting your house with something called a backflow preventer. It's basically a check valve. I'm a Navy guy. I understand what a check valve is. It lets water go one way, but it doesn't let water go the other way, okay? It's a check valve on your waste stream so that your waste goes the right direction. It goes out, doesn't come back in. Good idea, right? So we preach this. If you're on a combined area of the city and you don't have these check valves, you're at risk. And then I said, Dean, am I in a combined area? He goes, yeah. And I'm like, God dang, I don't even have one of these stupid check valves. I'm the mayor, and I preach this. It's because it takes effort. You have to buy the check valve. You have to install the check valve. I can't do that. So I have to hire a plumber, and I dare say most of the people in this room can't do that. You have to hire a plumber to come in and do it. It could cost $5,000. But if you do this, the bad water cannot come back in. That's why it's a wise investment. We preach it. I preach it. I haven't even done it myself. So that storm goes in the 5th district instead of North Hammond, hits my neighborhood. I got crap in my basement right now. I got water in my basement. I'm pissed off, right? Now the question is, what do we do? What do we do? Obviously, I feel horrible. 500 plus homes had damage in their basement. I've had this happen to me. It was years ago, but it happened to me. I had to throw all my stuff, and I swore I would never put stuff in my basement again. And to this day, we really haven't. It's unimproved. It's still nice, but wasn't like it was before we damaged it. So the question is, what happens when this happens? Because a lot of people that are hurting and stressed and pissed, one of their first instincts is, you messed up, Mayor. Your city messed up. You guys pushed your water in my finished basement. I spent $20,000 in this basement. What are you going to do about it, Mayor? And I'm like, I'm here to protect our money, your money, our money. And I would love to tell you that this isn't never going to happen again. I'd love to tell you that. I would be lying if I told you that. I would be lying, and I'm not that guy. I'd love if we had 0 murders. Chief Andy, where are you? Chief Andy, from now on, I don't want any murders to happen in Hammond, okay?
I'll do the best I can.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, we can't tell you that either. I wish I could. Unfortunately, with gun violence and all the problems in society, Andy can't say that. He's been a police officer for 30 plus years. He can't even tell us that. Marty can't tell me, Mayor, there's not going to be any more basement backups. It could have been my house. That's why it's important to the people in this room. Because a lot of you are in combined areas. Correct, Dean?
Yes, sir.
If you're not sure, if you're in a combined area, come to see Dean. But my neighborhood's in combined. I live on Knickerbocker, right by Purdue. Combined. No check valve. If I have flooding, is it the city's fault? Is it Marty's fault? No, it's not. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be inconsiderate. It happened to me. I feel horrible as your mayor. It's my job to feel your pain, but what do we do in a case like this? Because if you have a guy that just starts writing checks, we're going to go broke, guys. We're not going to have any money to be able to fix these problems. That's where I stand. And it's tough, and I feel horrible. And, you know, we do have, thankfully, services like the township that are here. And I'm going to pass the microphone, Sheriff, if you don't mind, to Trustee Adrian Santos. So, Adrian, I know Adrian's been helping us a lot with the flood victims. And I know, you know. So, Adrian, do you mind speaking for a few minutes on this, sir?
Yeah, Mayor, first of all, thank you for having me. I did want to mention, like the mayor said, we at the township have a disaster relief, and we have been using some of that money to help the folks in North Hammond that flooded. We have identified with the city over 500 folks have been affected. Our office after today has reached out to 300 of them so far, and the other 2 we'll call until we get everybody covered on the list. Some of the details, I'm going to hand over the mic to my chief of staff. She's going to go real quick over the details and what you need to do if you've been affected. But I want to echo the mayor's sentiments about the check valve. In East Chicago, it flooded the same thing, and I didn't have a check valve. And after getting my check valve, I can assure you that we didn't get any more sewage water. Now, there's a difference between sewage water and seepage. Now, I did get seepage, but I didn't get sewage water. So, yes, it cost, but it's a great investment, and that you don't have to deal with that sewer dirty water backing up in your basement. It's an inconvenience, but as the mayor said, we deal with it as elected officials head on, and we're here to tell you that, look, the rain waters are not going away. And he'd be lying to you if he tell you that this might not happen again. I mean, the way things are happening in this world, it's guaranteed to happen again. So just all you can do is prepare yourself for it. And if we can help you at the township, that's what we're here to do. So I'm gonna hand it over to Diana. She'll go over real quick over some of the things of those folks that need the assistance, what you need to do in order to get that assistance. Introduce yourself.
I'm Diana. I'm Chief of Staff at the North Township. As Adrian said, we've been working with Hammond and the Sanitary District on a list of verified individuals. So if you were one of those impacted individuals and you have called the Sanitary District, know that they are going to go through their process of verification. We receive a verified list daily of addresses. As Trustee Santos said, that list is up to just over 500 individuals or homes that were impacted. We have contacted approximately 300 of those individuals. We are still making phone calls to get you in scheduled. Those that were impacted and verified from the Sanitary District, so thank you to Marty and his team for getting that to us so quickly. You will receive a $50 voucher to Streck and Van Tills to assist with cleaning supplies that you may need in your efforts. If you are interested in finding out if your name is on the verified list and we just haven't gotten to you yet, please feel free to call our office. We can verify that information for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Could you give it up for the North Township Trustee's Office? Thank you for the help. Now, what we're here, and this Mayor's Night Out is not about this topic alone. We have a number of questions we're going to get to after we're done with this, and we're almost done. I just want to point out that we're here to tell you that this could happen to you. We need to protect our houses, and we are preaching on how to do that. We've been talking about this program in the Sanitary District that we're going to push on Hyperdrive. We've been talking about it way too long, and a disturbing fact about this recent flood event that we had in North Hammond is 40% of the people that flooded this time were repeat customers, meaning they had backups before, meaning that even though we're preaching this check valve program, the backflow preventer, it's not sinking in, it's not penetrating, and we need to keep pushing this because, as Trustee Santos said, if you get it, you'll keep the bad water out. If you get storm water, I'll deal with storm water. Nobody wants the sewage. So I want to go first to Kevin about one of the things about being a trial lawyer like Kevin is, in addition to being our corporate counsel, is trial lawyers know a lot about insurance. Correct, Kevin?
I do.
Kevin corrects me all the time when it comes to insurance, and I think this is going to come in handy right now because one of the things that people don't realize, that we need to realize is even though you have homeowners or even a renter's policy, it does not protect you from basement backups like this. You have to have a separate policy, right, Kevin?
That's correct, Mayor, and thank you. And one of the things I do in my practice is fight insurance companies all the time, and they're very good at trying to let you know how you don't have coverage when you think you do, right? So the person that can really help you first and foremost is your insurance agent. So whoever you go to for your car insurance or for your home insurance, that's kind of the first stop. They're there to help you. And really the key is making sure that, first of all, let me say this. Most homeowners policies do not cover this type of event, but you can get coverage for that type of event if you add that coverage. So the first stop is to call your agent and say, hey, I just want to make sure that if I have a backup, not a flood, but a backup from the drains or from the other areas in my basement, from sewage or stormwater, that I'm covered. And a lot of times they'll say, no, you don't have it, but I can get it for you. And so it's important to talk to your agent not only about flood insurance, but about backup insurance. That's the insurance on your home insurance coverage that will cover you for this type of event. So call your agent, or I know that several agents have already asked the city for information about who had this problem. They may be reaching out to you, but all of you probably have homeowners, I would think, or car insurance. Call that agent and ask them about that for your home. I would say this, the other thing to ask once you determine whether either you have the backup insurance or you can get it, is to figure out what the limits of that insurance are. Because a lot of times, it's kind of like with car insurance. You can get a $25,000 coverage, but really you need more than that. So you should ask, what does backup insurance limits give me? Sometimes they'll say, well, your limits are $5,000. Well, that might be fine for folks that maybe just have a furnace or a hot water heater that they want to protect. But if you've got a man cave down in the basement with a bar and a couple TVs to watch the Bears lose or something like that, you can, for sure, you want to have better coverage, or it's carpeted, or it's, you have maybe some very nice things down there. Because a lot of people do spend time in their basement. It's like kind of their leisure room sometimes. So make sure that you have coverage that is commensurate with what you need to protect.
Like me, I don't really have much in my
Right.
basement, so.
But if some people have, $25, $30, $40,000 things in their basement, and if that's what kind of basement you have, make sure you have the coverage when you call your insurance agent for backup coverage. Say, hey, I need, $30,000 in coverage, and they'll you know what that premium is, and then you need to decide that. So, Mayor, that's what I've got from an
Appreciate
insurance
it.
perspective.
So I think the point was made that we are not protected from backups like this as homeowners from our normal homeowners policy. I think that's something that's good to let sink in. So next, Marty's the CEO of the Hammond Sanitary District. He's been in this position for a long time. Marty works with people in the sanitary district, his technical advisors, that have been doing this for 30, 40 years. They've seen every storm in the city of Hammond. They measure the storms in the city of Hammond. And Marty's been pushing the backflow preventer program. And I know that you've recently upped the sanitary district's portion of this procedure, right?
Yes, Mayor. We've had this program in existence for over 15 years. The original program would cover $1,000 reimbursement to the homeowner once they had the backflow valve put in, installed by a licensed plumber in the city of Hammond. Once it was then inspected by the city, you would bring that paperwork back to us. We cut you a check for $1,000. Several weeks ago, even
Can I
before
interrupt
this-
real quick, Marty?
Yes, go ahead.
The problem is, though, like you said, we've been talking about this for 15 years.
15 years, yeah.
But then we analyzed the last flood, and 40% of the people didn't get a backflow preventer.
That's right.
They're 40% of our current victims, right?
Yes. So I sat down with my board and staff, and what we decided to do 4 weeks ago, once again prior to this flood, is we upped it another $1,000. So now each homeowner is able to get a reimbursement of $2,000 once you have proven that that backflow preventer has been installed. It's so important to do. I can't tell you that everything that the mayor said at the meeting we were last night. You need to think about how these weather systems have changed dramatically. Born and raised in this city, I'm 63 years old. I can tell you everything's changed weather-wise. Our snows, the amount of snow we get is far less. The number of months that are very cold are far less. Our rain storms are now become tropical, and they cover small geographical areas and dump buckets and buckets of water in a very short time. That's not how it used to be. So we keep encouraging you to take advantage of this program. My board was gracious enough on Tuesday to up the amount of money that they've given me to cover this. We used to say you had to have proven backup to get it. My board said on Tuesday we're opening up to everyone across the city, every homeowner, apply, put the backflow valve in, and we'll send you a check for $2,000.
Okay. Thanks, Marty. Yes, ma'am. Oh, it'll be like $5,000. I mean, being honest, in the
What does it
ballpark.
cost to put the back valve in, and how do we know if we have it or not? Does anybody from the city come and check for
No, we can't really go on your private property. We do during emergency events like this, but you would have to get a plumber to check it out, and because we can't do it for you either. So the whole procedure, $5,000-ish. So the program that we have will fund 40% of it, but there's still, fairly significant. And I know that is cost prohibitive for some people, but if that $5,000 is cost prohibitive, going back to something that Kevin said, if you have $25,000 in the basement and a flood wipes the entire basement out, these are like the pros and cons we all have to start weighing. Like me, my basement sort of sucks right now. Ever since it flooded, I said, I'm not doing that again, and I haven't. So if it wiped out my basement, I'd lose a crummy couch and some old carpet, no big deal. But like Kevin said, some people have man caves and just amazing basements. If you do, get insurance, get a backflow preventer, protect your investment, okay? This is a good conversation. So regardless I know there's a lot of people in the 1st District watching interestedly right now, but this is good no matter where you live in Hammond. I need to listen to my own advice and get a backflow preventer. Yes, sir.
Mayor.
Yeah, while you're mentioning backflow valves, I'm going to go looking at the on my app.
Uh-huh.
Are these the ones that you guys are talking about?
I don't know. I mean, you're asking the wrong guy. We could deal with this after, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Bob.
How
How much, Bob, I should have asked you, how much, was that accurate?
That's Pretty accurate, yes.
$5,000-ish?
$5,000-ish, yes.
Maybe if you know the plumber, you get it for $4,000. I don't know.
Yes. Also, there would be a permit involved, and that would trigger an inspection before the backflow preventer is buried. That would trigger an inspection for the plumber, the licensed plumber to come out and check, and he would pass or fail it. And so there would be a city inspection, basically.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yes, sir. Okay, wait, no, we're coming up right now. Yeah, thanks, Nabil. Nice to see you.
Is this a Hammond problem?
No, sir.
Or the other surrounding city? Because I remember at one time, many years ago, I read an article that some, like from Griffiths or Highland or other cities that get into the sewer system, that the flow water coming from other city get into our...
Oh, no, great question.
Because what happened is it's Lake County problem. It's not city because they have to find out where the water coming from other city is
Okay.
this coming into our
Well,
Hammond system. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Nabil. It's a problem particularly for Hammond because we're an older community. I'm gonna defer to my engineer on this one. But Hammond, being an older community, has more combined areas than a brand new community like Winfield, for instance.
For sure, by far.
So Winfield
They wouldn't be
has
allowed to have a
separated system. So if the stormwater, this is just me talking, Dean, please correct
Absolutely
me.
right.
Stormwater becomes real pressurized in a separated system, no big deal because it's separated, right?
True.
In our system, all of our water goes to the same pipe, and if the stormwater pipe gets pressurized, the bad water goes back in my house. That's the problem. Oh, no. That's a point. That's a great point you bring up. We've had contracts with our customer communities. I want you to talk. I'm not going to hog it. But we've had contracts with our customer communities, Griffith, Highland, our partner community, Munster, and Whiting for decades before I got here, and they'll be here decades after I leave. Decisions made in like the 1950s, 60s, if not sooner. So this is something we have to deal with. We do accept water. We are constantly in litigation with our customer communities not to send us too much water because that doesn't help. But that's a great point that you brought up, Nabil. Am I messing up?
You're spot on, Mayor. So
I'm not going to be passing the PE exam like yourself, but I want to make sure that we're giving accurate information to the
Yeah,
public.
in brevity, for example, Griffith has a stormwater basin that they push water into, but eventually it flows
Is it
back
like
into
our?
our
It's not a
system.
CSO. It's just for stormwater.
It's just it's combined sewer.
Okay.
It goes into this concrete basin. It's Klein Avenue and the Borman Expressway, basically. But all that water ends up still flowing into our system. And they will peak with what they have to send to us, and that inundates our system.
Right.
And therefore, we have to deal with that flow as well.
It was interesting, Dean. We had this conversation today. We had a big group conversation, and one of the really interesting things is I remember, let's say 50 years ago in Hammond, when Mayor Wiskowski, Mayor Dowling, in that era, they had the same equipment we had, and they had a bigger city, more people, right? And I said, what happens if they have the same rainstorm back in the 70s or in the 80s? How does the plant handle it? Marty, could you answer that question?
Well, I remember some of that, not that far back.
Well,
Mayor
I'm not
Dowling,
saying
but-
you were in charge of the district in
Yeah,
the 1970s, right?
What I would say is that the number of backup basements back in that era were far greater than we'd ever seen today.
Because
So-
of the infrastructure, Hammond was in worse shape. But what would you have done at the plant? Maybe need to go with Jeff on this one. Jeff?
Back in the older days, you would have a situation where the water would you'd have a lot of basement backups, and there'd be discharges directly into the Grand Calumet River. And the
You
Little
would
Calumet
discharge
River.
what into the Grand Calumet?
You would
River?
discharge raw sewage.
Raw sewage into the Grand Cal. That's how they handled it in the old days. Like when I say old days, when my dad was mayor, that's what they did. When Mayor Dietler was mayor, but they weren't doing raw sewage then, right?
Not
Because
as
you were
much.
there then, right?
Yes.
But you still had CSO events, right?
Yes, you still had CSO events, but you would discharge directly from the Columbia Avenue pump station as well, directly to the river. It wasn't until the basin was built that
Raw
we were able
sewage.
to, raw sewage. They were able to contain it and be able to treat it.
So when you were drowning the other day in water, with hundreds of millions of gallons of water coming to you that you couldn't process, you opened up the CSO basin, and 70 million gallons passed through that, right?
The CSO basin, so the CSO basin operates on its own. So when the flows get to a certain level in,
It just
in
opens.
the pump station, it automatically starts going. The pumps kick on and go to the CSO basin until it overflows.
And that water is basically raw sewage?
At the beginning, it's a little more raw, but
So
then
let's
as the
picture
rain
this.
continues, it
If you're
dilutes out.
eating right now, you might want to turn it lower if you're at home, okay? The water that's going into the CSO has solids in it, okay? Heavier than the water portion, okay? So the whole purpose of the CSO is to get the solids out because that's going right into the river. In the old days, they had the pleasure of just dumping it into the river and not having to worry about it. We'd have to deal with it in Lake Michigan. We can't do that anymore, okay? So it goes through the CSO, heavy stuff falls to the bottom of the pit, and by the time it gets to the exit of the CSO basin, it's fairly clean. And you blast it with chlorine, right?
We do not at this time on that basin. We will very
Okay.
shortly, but most of the solids are removed, and then we're able to bring those back into the plant, or we actually just collect them and haul them off to landfill.
It's disgusting. Yes, ma'am.
But I can tell you going back, it's got to be about 35 years ago, Holman Avenue had flooded. I remember, for those of you who know the Hammond Fire Department from years ago, Chief Norby Gaylor was going down a rowboat on Holman Avenue. So I've had my own frustrations with water in Hessville. Marty, your department is wonderful. They were so helpful to me.
Thank
What
you.
I'm trying to say is I've seen it change over 35 years, and I can tell you my own frustration at times, but compared to seeing the fire chief going down a rowboat on Holman Avenue, there has been improvement, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. You got one. Tim? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for the engineer.
Sure.
If I was to purchase a backflow preventer, how far away from the house is this put in, and how deep?
So there's a couple of options for where you do it, but you want to make sure that you collect all of the pipes that go into your mainline sewer leaving. In some cases, you can do that inside the house in your basement or immediately outside your house. That's where you want it. You don't, the closer to your home is better, but every circumstance is going to be a little different. And your main sewer might be in front of the home or in the alley. And so that's where you want to put it, is in the main service line that goes to the mainline sewer.
If there's anything that we're trying
Welcome.
to impress upon our residents is we can't tell you this isn't going to happen again. We're going to do our best every day to make sure it doesn't happen. In fact, we have a deal with the federal government where we're going to build another, it's not a CSO basin. What is it called again?
Well, actually, we're doing what we call CMDF.
We don't need to get into the details, but
Yeah,
basically
but
it's
it's,
going to give you the ability to fight.
It's going to give me the ability to treat all of the water, wastewater coming from both Highland and Griffith, be able to treat it to some degree right at the river before we send it north to the plant. So what will happen is we'll take all the solids out of it at the river, put the water back into the river, somewhat treated, and be able to send the solids back up to plant to be treated. So, and that's totally
That's down the
acceptable.
road. We'll deal with
Yeah,
it.
and that's when we have
But
these
that's
heavy
going to give
rains.
us more ability to fight these heavy rainfall events. And think about right now, that water like that was brought up from Highland and Griffith goes all the way through Hammond, has to get treated at the plant, and go back into the river. And we could cut it off at the pass
That is
under
correct.
that new proposal. That's going to cost money. It's not like a couple grand either. It's going to be $25 million. What pays for that? Our sanitary rates. But the federal government's not asking. So, all right. We've been talking a lot about this topic this week. 2 hours last night, hour at the council meeting, hour today. I think we'll probably still be talking about this next week and the week after, but I think I'm going to cut it short for tonight because we're doing with Mayor's Night, and there's a lot of questions that people have on their mind, and I want to make sure we hit everybody's issues. So unless anybody has like a burning last question on this topic. Yes, sir.
Yeah, like those things you were talking about, those check valves earlier.
Yes, sir.
My question is, should it be done in the basement or should it be done outside?
That Dean was just talking about that. He said you want to get it so that all the sewage outflows are caught so that there's nothing after the valve, right? True. It has to encompass everything, and if that could be done in your basement, you could do it there. The only way you could tell is get a plumber.
Like I said, I'm not no plumber and I'm not qualified.
I'm not either. I would get a plumber I have to, in fact. In fact, plumbers locally are probably going to be pretty busy now that Marty's up the ante on his program. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bounce and get to our questions. So thank you, everybody, for dealing with this. We appreciate it. I know it doesn't affect the 5th District, but my argument is it does affect the residents of the 5th District. So Thanks.
Okay, first off, we'll go to the police department. When Kennedy Avenue is fully open, speed limit needs to be set at 25 miles per hour. It's more of a statement.
That's a statement.
That's a statement.
Anybody want to back that up? Hi, how's it going? My man.
Yeah, because you're probably going to be having pedestrian traffic, like what they say when they get done with it, and you got too many Speedy Gonzaleses that act like these streets are the Indianapolis Speedway.
Yeah. You know, I think it's going to be sort of like Highland, I'm hoping. When you're in Highland and, was it on Main Street in Highland? And like, you got the cars parked right next to you, and you go fast to a certain extent, but you can't go too fast because it's sort of crowded. I have a feeling, you know, people, when they get mad at me about that project, they're mad because, man, the traffic stinks. I can't go on Kennedy anymore. We intentionally made that so it's not a shortcut anymore. It was intentional. It was done in coordination with the local business community. It was done in coordination with the local residents. We talked about it over the course of 2 years. We funded it with the help of the Hammond City Council. It's very similar to a project we're doing in downtown Hammond, which is identical concept. So I'm excited about it. All right.
Okay.
So anyway, Chief, 25 miles an hour. What do you think?
Just like all areas, if it's 25 miles an hour, I will have my officers over there enforcing all that they can in regards to that. As of right now, just for the whole city of Hammond, we've written over 34,000 tickets. So if it goes down to 25 miles per hour, we are right over there too.
Right. And in my opinion, and you know, obviously there's a lot of opinions in Hammond, 80,000, okay? I think if I had my way, the Hammond Police Department would focus way more, and they do. I'm happy that on the semis, going where they're not supposed to be, you know, going through neighborhoods, driving too fast, and I know that the chief has a pet peeve with the semis, just like the mayor, just like the residents, and that's one thing I impress upon the police department every chance I get is nobody cries when a semi gets a ticket. People literally clap. We hate them. They're going on 173rd. They're going through our neighborhoods, and they don't belong there. In fact, we had a project in Public Works, Felix, you grab a microphone real quick, where his department placed, like, how many signs around the city?
Probably 600 or 700.
Okay.
Just,
I thought it was more than that. But you guys seen the ones we're talking about, the ones that says no truck traffic, brand new, bright ones, we put them everywhere. We put red ones where they're not supposed to be so that the semis, the drivers see these, and when they get pulled over by a cop, they can't tell the police officer, I didn't see it. They're everywhere. Hundreds of them just went up. Yeah. So, yes, sir.
And in regards to that, since those signs been up, we've written just this year alone up to close to 500 tickets, just truck tickets.
Yeah.
So we're out there.
It's brutal this year, but, you know, hopefully the highway starts opening up now that we're back. So, all right, great. All right, we're moving. Anybody have any questions on that? Yes, sir. How you doing?
All right, my name's Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Excuse me. At 6726 Alexander.
Uh-huh.
And there ain't no, because there's cars that come down there probably doing like 30, 40 miles an hour. And there's no speed limit signs out there.
Okay. Oh, Dave, grab the microphone, would you? Could you grab the microphone? And then Felix, make sure you take note on that, would you please? Thanks.
Larry, when we talked yesterday, the Board of Public Works to meet tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and I'm bringing that up as part of for them to consider during the meeting. I don't know if it can be on the agenda tomorrow, if it has to be another week, but I know there's also some concern over there about a three-way stop where Alexander meets Nickel Plate Road, and is that Vine Street? Martha, and I know that there's some concern that you guys want that, and I brought it up to the Board of Public Works.
Felix.
We could take care of that for you. Add some, that doesn't really have to go to the board. It just, you're not changing anything, you're just adding signs. So we could take care of that for you.
Okay. That's why we do Mayor's Night. It's a perfect opportunity to get stuff like that knocked out. Everybody's here, so. And everybody knows about Hammond 311, right? It's an app you can download on your phone that literally goes right to my department heads when they wake up in the morning. They go to work, and they have like 25 311 requests waiting for them. And literally, it's faster than calling my office, faster than anything. If you have graffiti, it goes right to graffiti removal. The person that does it wakes up in the morning, oh, look at that, there's graffiti in North Hammond. And they go out and they get rid of it. This is, if you don't have Hammond 311, if you're a mayor's night out, you're a good citizen. And you're a concerned citizen. And if you don't have Hammond 311 on your phone, I think you'd be impressed. So please download that. Hi, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sharon. I stay at 7003 Chestnut.
Okay.
My block, Chestnut, and then it's across is Chesapeake.
Yeah, I know exactly.
They drive through there
Yeah,
like a bat out of.
it's the same kind of thing, right?
Okay. I have asked and I've talked to if they can put, it's only one stop sign right there at the corner. I done trimmed my trees, I done got a lower fence so they can see. But if they, I've noticed on Calumet that some of the businesses have them real big mirrors where you can see down that street because so many people have hit that tree. I've seen them leave.
Okay.
I've seen some of them stay.
Ma'am,
But
you
it's
said
a
your
big
name's Sharon?
problem. Huh?
Sharon?
Yes.
See Felix down there? That's Felix is in charge of public works.
I'm your neighbor. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's it's sketchy over there. So
Mayor.
we'll try to do something about
Man,
Mayor.
fellow mail carrier, right? Yeah. We addressed that problem, and that's going in front of the Board of Works tomorrow as well. And as a matter of fact, Devin and his tree crew was out there today clearing out Chesapeake so that that stop sign can be seen on Chesapeake. We're going to add 2 stop signs there, probably early next week.
Sir, how you doing?
For answering my question, Mayor. This is for the chief of police. Your speed limit, 35 mile an hour, how far and long will that be from what position to what ending of Kennedy?
Can you repeat that?
Where's the starting
We're
point?
talking about Kennedy Avenue again, Chief.
Yeah, where would
Could
be
you
the
grab the microphone? It's hard to hear you.
Could you repeat that so I can hear you?
Where would be the starting point of the 35 mile an hour, and where would be the ending part?
Well, what's the current speed limit? I mean, nobody's changed it right now. Obviously, I'm not sure if that's been changed.
I'm not sure either.
But usually that kind of thing doesn't go through the chief of police per se. It goes through the Board of Works. Chief of police has a lot to do with it, but yeah. Okay.
Yes, I was just going to say that the regular process, just so you understand the process, sir, is that if there's a request for even a stop sign or a speed limit change, that would go before the Board of Works. It usually gets sent to engineering or potentially to the police department for further review, and then it would go before the Board of Works for a change or a denial of that change, and then the council gets 7-day notice. So if they want to chime in to see whether it should be absolutely approved or not, they get a chance, especially the councilman in that district, all get a chance to chime in. So that's the process. So so in other words, to answer your question, there's been no determination of any change in speed on that stretch yet. And when it goes before the Board of Works, that'll be the process.
People that leave the mills and they come home, come down Kennedy, it's like a rat race. It's like everybody's got a rat rod and they got to get 70 mile an hour. I used to work for Boken Funeral Home. We've seen so many wrecks just on the phones, texting, around 65, 70 mile an hour.
This block.
Yeah.
I mean, because
it's just nonstop. But we all know about it. And
well, that's why we did the project we did, is slow the traffic down, literally. I mean, it's going to be real slow between 6,400 and 6,900, you know. And then I imagine, hopefully, eventually, it'll go all the way through the Hessville Business District, single lane, with plenty of parking options, and hopefully people start investing. That's the thought. So I hope you're right. We're investing now because we want it to be better. So, all right, cool.
Along the same lines as Kennedy Avenue, what plans does the city have to restrict the non-delivery semis, steel haulers, and dump trucks for using the new multi-million-dollar renovation project of Kennedy Avenue, which is not a truck route?
I know there's a gentleman who's probably at Mayor's Night right now that this is a big issue, and I appreciate that gentleman. That's why we do Mayor's Night, and that's how you keep things on the agenda. Dean, do you know, I personally haven't looked in, I know this is an issue. I haven't really studied it personally.
So Kennedy south of 165th is not a through truck route, but it is north of 165th. So that does loop north up to Michigan. But we placed the signs that you have requested that we put up through Felix's department to notify the truckers, and obviously the council and the mayor have approved increased penalties for trucks off the truck route. Obviously, delivery trucks would be permitted to go into any street, but for local deliveries, but through truck routes are clearly posted and marked.
All right.
Okay. When will Homan Avenue be done? There's 2 abandoned buildings on Ruth between Homan and State Line in Waltham. All eyesores needs to be demolished. And 149th between Columbia and White Oak needs police cameras and speed bumps due to safety concerns of children getting on and off school buses.
Okay. Not in that one.
Yeah.
Speed bumps, I hear about this a lot. I'm personally not a huge fan of speed bumps. So I get asked this a lot. Why not, Mayor? I'm going to tell you why. Because this is probably a really good example of a great location where a speed bump would go. And we have locations like this in about 280 places in the city of Hammond. All of them make great, excellent cases for why a speed bump needs to be there. So we're like the city of speed bumps at the end of the day here, because you get a mayor, not like me, you get a mayor that just doesn't want to make anybody mad, and every time somebody asks for a speed bump, they get a speed bump. Before you know it, when it snows a lot and our public works drivers are out there with the snow plows on, they're losing their plow because they don't know where the speed bumps are. This is a Pandora's box. Once it's open, you can't shut it. Once we put one speed bump in front of somebody's house or somebody's location, they're everywhere in the city. That's where I'm coming from. It's hard to say no to anybody because I want to be all your mayor. I want to do a good job for all of you. And, that means all of us are the same. And I don't know. This is a tough issue. That's where I don't think I'm alone in sharing that opinion. I know I've talked about this with a number of people. So.
Obviously, public safety response, right? If you want an ambulance to show up at your house and they've got to slow down for a speed bump, we don't want to do that. Fire, police chases, right? People lose control. So all of those issues sort of pile up.
I know other cities are doing them. I just went through Chicago the other day. I went to La Chiquita. I do that on Sundays. I do. I love it. Right before the Bears lost, I went to La Chiquita and I went through like 20 speed bumps. And I was thinking to myself, this is why my residents ask for speed bumps all the time, is because other cities do it. But it's hard to say no. And once you start speed bumps, they're going to be everywhere.
I think the other question too was about Homan Avenue, Mayor.
Yes,
that was.
When is it going to open?
Yeah, that's a difficult
Why?
question because we've been stalled for a number of reasons. Last year we had a labor strike that put us off. This year we had found that there were vaulted basements, so basements that extended underneath the sidewalk that we didn't expect. And that set us back about 2 months to get this project done. So our current schedule opens up Sibley mid-October. So you'll be able to go through at Sibley all the way across Homan Avenue. And then by the time the asphalt plants close, we're going to have Homan Avenue open in one lane in each direction through the winter. Then we'll be back in the spring to finish the streetscaping work that needs to be completed.
Is it going to take all next construction year? So like a year from now, we're still going to be like trying to button it up?
I believe that we would have uncovered all of the underground utility problems that we've found in the underground basements, and I do not expect this to run through another construction season. We are looking at May as a completion date at this point.
What's the status of Kennedy while we're talking about?
Kennedy Avenue, well, so we've had some slowdowns as it relates to some utility services by NIPSCO. We're working hard to accommodate those and are working hard to get that project completed this year.
Okay. It's painful. I have a business owner from downtown Hammond that gives me regular updates on how quickly their business is going down the tubes, and it's stressful for me. I hate that. But what we're doing is going to be worth it in the long run, and it's painful for people down there right now. And he literally gives me a blow-by-blow about how his business is going underwater, and it's my fault. Okay? So, we're doing everything we can. And keep in mind, with the labor shortages, the federal government invested $50 million in Hammond over the last couple of years, and we're doing all the work in Hammond, and that's just Hammond. Gary got $100 million. East Chicago got a bunch of money. All the governments in Northwest Indiana, all the governments in Indiana got all this money, and every Union is jam-packed busy with work right now, and sometimes we don't get manpower on these jobs. It's not because they don't love us, it's because they're stretched thin too. It's painful, but it's gonna be worth it. And it's a blessing that we're doing all this work, but it's painful right now. Driving across the city is brutal. I hate it too. But we don't control the railroads. We didn't close all the railroads down at the same time. They closed all the railroads down at the same time. I couldn't control that, right? I don't control the highway, Clyde Avenue. They control it. Other governments. It's tough right now. And they're all doing projects too, by the way. So, did we answer the question? I don't know if we did. If we didn't, raise your hand. Hi, sir. I guess we didn't. I like your shirt.
Thanks. I came in and I missed some of what you were talking about,
That's
the street lighting, you know, those old-fashioned poles.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I live on...
Ornamental.
Yeah, the ornamental lighting.
sir. They're
You
beautiful.
said it stopped. Now, on Lindbergh Avenue has it, and then Snyder and Wicker in Ontario don't have
Yeah.
it. And then it starts again at Woodmar and goes, and the part of Ontario I live on is a short block from 173rd to 171st. And, you know, is that going to start again, or?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but you know, I like these projects. These projects are driven in a lot of cases through partnerships between the council and the mayor's office. So like Councilman Dave would be like, hey mayor, I was thinking about doing this project over this neighborhood. Project cost is like 150 grand. I was wondering if you'd do 100 grand and I'll do 50 grand. Or we do half and half. And then we do it, you know, we make deals like that regularly. All the councilmen do. And we maximize our money that way. But it's not that nobody, I mean, these are decisions made in I don't know who made the decision to do the blocks around you, but, you know, it's just a matter of being chosen as a block that's going to get that. A lot of these blocks got their lighting when they did the street. So maybe your street was done and they didn't do the lighting and...
The lighting wasn't being done when our block got done that
Yeah.
many years ago.
Yeah, I know.
And then
You were
the
lucky
lighting-
then.
The lighting was added like later
Yes,
on
sir.
some of them.
I'm sorry about that. It did change. You're right. So if you got your street done early, you were lucky because you got it done early, and then they sort of changed how they did streets after they did yours. So we're not ignoring you, sir. I would, first off, going to Mayor's Night Out, did you fill out the address on there? I would put your address on there. It's like a letter to the mayor. And it comes to me, and then I'll forward it to Dean. I'll be like, Dean, how come we don't have lights over there? And then Dean will put it in his memory bank. Okay. So that comes to my desk, sir. Literally, those white pieces of paper come to my desk. And then I forward them to the department heads. Okay? So thank you, sir. All right. Hi.
Oh, I always want to say something with the lighting. NIPSCO is terrible. And Dave knows this for 4 months to get a light back on, at least 4 months. I call them RIPSCO.
Yep.
I went through them. They lie to you. Nobody ever reported. I was like the first one. My neighbors reported it. Dave's reported it. Dave's been a wonderful councilman for our
Thank you.
area. He's
That's
got
nice
so
of you.
much done for
I agree
us.
with you, by the way.
It's been
He's my councilman,
fantastic.
too.
But I just let you know, NIPSCO is terrible with the street lighting. with those
Okay,
lights.
you know what? We could help you with NIPSCO, but quite frankly, you could say things about NIPSCO. If I say it, it costs our city money. So, these are your opinions, okay? So what I suggest, though, I think Dean is a big assist in situations like that. Call the city engineer. We work for you. And sometimes when the engineer calls NIPSCO, he gets a different response, okay? So if you're not going to help with NIPSCO, while you're calling them, call Dean also. Call the city engineer's office. We could try to assist you from our end. I know people that work at NIPSCO, and I could sort of go through back channels and try to see if they could help us too, okay? NIPSCO's tough. I agree. If we work together, I think we can get at him. He did? Awesome. Thanks. All right.
Okay, couple of things on 177th. One is garbage on 177th, and then would like a stop sign at 177th and Northcott.
Right. Talking about a good location for a speed bump, right? Like if I was going to do a speed bump, I would start on 177th. Because you live south of, I'm going to paint the picture for everybody. I know where you live. She lives on 177th, which is just south of 8094. It's like the old entrance to the Woodmar Country Club, and it goes all the way over to Columbia Avenue. You got like 2 miles, and some people go really fast there. Yeah, some people go real fast over there. And I know it's frustrating for the neighbors that live over there because it's like a drag strip sometimes.
Stop sign was down in July again, somebody flattened it on the corner house there, and it's getting disgusting.
Okay.
They drive underneath that viaduct and go down North
You know what,
2:30 in the morning.
ma'am? I know one of your neighbors. He's a police officer, lives really close to you.
Second house in the corner from Beverly, doesn't he hear this guy speeding down the street?
Oh, no. This gentleman's sitting right behind you. Maybe he'll talk to you after. But the good thing you're doing is you wrote down your complaint. This is multiple times you come to Mayor's Night Out. You were here last year, if I remember correctly, which is awesome. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Okay? People are listening. The police officers in the back are listening. My chief is listening. I agree. But, you know, and this is a problem. Thank you. So we got problems on 177th, Chief.
Yes, sir. I will make sure someone's over there enforcing that one too.
Okay. Well,
This last time they came between 10 in the morning and 2. You gotta be there rush hour.
I know, ma'am. But it's hard because, you know, we have our traffic units, and a lot of times during the day, they're trying to get the trucks that are slamming our city. And it's tough. Yes, ma'am. We have a question back here. If, la 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 la. The views expressed at Mayor's Night Out are not. Hi, ma'am.
Hi. That problem's starting here at Jefferson and going all the way up the street, Northcutt.
Yes.
It's bad.
Yes, ma'am. Agreed. I drive on the street. I bike on that street in particular. I know.
On our street, so it's really bad.
Speed in general, but yeah, where you get long stretches like that, I agree. Good location. It's okay. I see a lot of hands going up. We got some. So it seems like we're talking about people driving too fast. So we're taking notes. I promise. Who's got this one? Hi, sir. Oh, hi, ma'am.
I'm sorry. It's not a speeding problem, but it is a police problem. That parkway right on the other side of Chesapeake, because there's no lights, and I advocated for that one light to be there.
You're talking off of 75th?
173rd.
73?
My property is like that.
Okay.
So I'm right across from the Pegway. Because they added them trees over there, you really can't see now. And they hang over there. I used to go to the Crime Watch meeting and I reported it. They hang over there so bad. And the police usually sit in the funeral home every time I call. But I know I'm starting to sound like a nag because I call so much. Because all of the kids are hanging over there. They're doing other things. 2 weeks ago, they were shooting. So it's starting to be a problem, one, because there's no lights. If you could do anything to get something done over there, and they come, we got so many strangers in the neighborhood now, and I don't know what to do. I keep putting my light out. I don't know if they're busting it out or what, because I got this big, bright spotlight on my corner.
Some of these
but
guys,
it's dark over
this is
there.
the kind of thing that should be written down so that we could follow it up. Sometimes it's hard to remember when you're getting a whole bunch of different. That's a great recommendation. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, I've been over there like maybe 13, 15 years.
Yes, sir.
And
Where?
it's private property, 6726 Alexander.
Yes, sir.
And we have a dumpster in the back, but people are putting their trash outside the dumpster. I think I brought it up to Dave, and he was maybe going to put like a bin or something around a dumpster.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Larry, all I can tell you is what I told you before. I can contact the owner and ask him to put that box around the dumpster, because you are correct. People just throw stuff out there and it blows all down the neighborhood. And I'm not to praise the city workers, but even to your question, Devin's on that issue with getting those what are they, tree of heaven, you say, that grow from the ground and they grow wild, and it was wide open and you had plenty of light over there a year ago, and it looks like a woods over there again. And like I said, they were out there today, they cleared it, and they're gonna keep clearing it until it's done. And the issue with the dumpster, all I can do is ask the owner.
I just was informed we have 10 questions left, so we're going to start moving at a different pace, okay? We're going off written questions now because I don't want to be here until 10 o'clock, so.
Okay, so more of a statement on Northcott, garbage thrown throughout the alleys, dead squirrels in the alleys, and sidewalks are being blocked by bikes, skateboards, and kids' toys. This is a house question.
That one will go to Public Works, that last one, okay? The last one was for that, you followed up with the crews.
7900 Northcott.
Right.
This is about a house on Wicker, 6700 block. I don't know if you want me to give the 6700 block of Wicker. There must be some issues with this
Is
house.
there anything we want to talk about out loud? We can just forward that to code enforcement. Do you know anything going on over there, Nick?
I know, so I know Jason has a current citation out on a few properties, the 7900 block of Northcott. As far as, you said the 6700 block.
Let's just forward that to code enforcement
Yeah.
and PD. We don't like to embarrass, because honestly, I'm sure this is completely accurate, but just to guard against, if I don't like my neighbor and I come in and I embarrass my neighbor and I say, 7134, has dead rats in the backyard, and we just want to be protective. So when we get a specific address, we try not to read it out loud for privacy purposes. So.
Okay, this one is, there are a couple of businesses next to my store that need more space for customer parking. This is on Homan Avenue. There is a building next to my business, 5600 Homan. It's been closed for over 15 years. So two different things on Homan Avenue. More parking for businesses, and then looks like an abandoned building.
Ann? Hi. You know anything about this? Juan? Yeah. You do?
Juan does, but yeah, this is Echo Dove. You can send that to Echo Dove.
Let's go. What's
Go,
up,
Juan, go.
Tell me what's up. Hi, Juan.
Thank you, Mayor. Juan Moreno from Economic Development. I was made aware of this from Elvita, great business in downtown Hammond area, great business to have in Hammond. She has tirelessly reached out to us regarding this issue. She came in today. She understood that this is a 5th district. She did miss the last one. She just wanted to make sure to bring it to our attention. So
We're the mayor, we're the administration for the whole city, so it doesn't matter.
Absolutely, and I told her she's at the right place.
Good.
I did a brief on this. We're going to go ahead and schedule an appointment with Elvita and her team, discuss this more thoroughly, and introduce it to the team and see if it's we can come up with a solution.
Cool.
And there's a typed letter with.
He knew
with
all
her.
about it. That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any follow-up on that? Sounds like we're aware of what's going on, which is good news.
Within the 5th district, there is a new housing development in the works. The property is being developed. Neighbors, including myself, were not notified. Should neighbors be notified in advance?
Hi. You're talking about Florida Avenue?
Yes, I'm talking about right off of Orchard Drive there. My issue is more of accountability,
Uh-huh.
and I have to do, and it also touches on water. None of our neighbors were notified. I
Okay.
remember, Mayor, you talked at a meeting, I'll just say in general, in Robertsdale, where you were talking about people that was going in there.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that.
Thank you.
So I looked at that level of accountability.
Uh-huh.
We did not have any notification in my area. One of
Good.
the things that
Agree with you.
concerns me
This
is
is a good
that
point.
3-4 years ago, water.
Right.
Water everywhere, and I was one of the water.
So your
out
backyard
people.
is the field?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we never thought that field would be developed.
Okay.
And now there's concern about, and we're looking at the drains and things, can the sewer system
Right.
accommodate that?
Gotcha.
So it's accountability.
Let's find out exactly where we are on that, okay, Lisa?
All
All
right.
right. Who wants to take this? Dean? Hi.
Hi. So Brian also might want to
Right.
chime in on
I know
this.
we talked about this in the 30,000-foot level about where the source of funding was going to come from for the infrastructure, because there would have to be infrastructure that went in if we were going to do that for the point you're bringing up. So where are we in this process?
Yeah, so
Brian?
this is a platted subdivision that was done many, many years ago.
Right.
It would have already been through the
Right.
process.
Well, let's find out
for-
from Brian.
yeah.
Brian? How you doing, bud?
Hi.
Hey.
Having trouble with the microphone.
This is a project that's been going for a long time.
Well, yeah, and I actually, Dean,
I'm trying to remember how long.
Dean kind of said that this Florida Avenue project was approved by the Planning Commission probably over 20 years ago.
Before I was mayor.
Definitely before you. Yes, it was.
Okay.
So it went through the whole.
So let me ask you a question, though. Nobody's bought land there. As far as we haven't subdivided it officially, have we?
No, it was subdivided, it was never built.
Right, okay.
That particular developer never followed through.
This is a great point that she brings up, though. When we did the project in Robertsdale, I had multiple public meetings with the neighbors, and we had made decisions together, and here we are in Hessville, and we're just sort of slapping it down and saying, hey, too bad, Lisa. I think that's what the question is, right?
We hear what you said there,
Mhm.
and now the neighbors were comparing about,
Agreed.
well, how come we're not getting this
Agreed.
here? And I look at the drain, I thought, pardon my language, oh, hell, do we
Okay.
have to worry about another aspect of water?
Right.
Again,
No.
do I have to run to Marty and say, Marty, I need more help? So, but it is accountability.
Agreed.
You have to be accountable.
I agree.
So my thing is it the developer who's going to be accountable here?
No, it's going to be
you
the
do-
mayor. And that means I have to hold my team more accountable and ask them the tough question of
But-
why we're just slapping this down. And in Robertsdale, we went through a painful process and
That's
worked
it.
with.
That's
This is a
it.
great question you asked. I love this question, and I'm going to follow this up. Because I don't think we've gone too far, have we?
We're building the road, Mayor. And the houses are being, yeah, we've auctioned off the parcel.
Well, why are you talking to me, like, she asked the question? I mean, like,
And here's the microphone. This is what I was going to say. The difference is that the Florida Avenue had been platted already. Clarkfield had never been platted.
okay. What's that?
Slope?
No,
Oh,
this all happened before I've been married longer than any person, I know you know this. I've been married 20 years, and I don't remember having anything to do with this project. I know the project, so I was going through my head like, holy crap, did I mess up? But it sounds to me like this was done before I took over, and we're finally just doing it. Is that?
But Mayor, I have another concern. The reason why I asked if you've been down Orchard Drive where that hump is.
I go everywhere.
The way you sweep is that if it freezes, you've got fire rigs going down there, you've got squad cars going down there, you got ambulance. I worry about people sliding there because of the pavement is no longer smooth. So it's accountability as far as how that development's going in, but it's also about when that freezes over, I worry about our city employees.
Okay.
I worry about people with the
Well,
sanitation.
I'm going to go back to your original concern, which I think is really about this. Well, accountability happened 20 years ago, and I guess I failed in that I should have taken that project and took ownership of it myself. And I guess I just sort of relied on what they did 20 years ago, Lisa. That's my fail. No, I mean, that's what happened, it sounds like, but I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, okay? Like, but I think the more important issue you bring up, though, is that's your backyard, it's a field, and now we're going to put a bunch of houses there. What's that going to do to the water situation? I think that's what you're really concerned with, for sure, right?
So Hessville is a separated system, right?
That's good, separated,
There
right.
is some effect for the combined sewers that come in from Highland and Griffith, right? So we do have some effect, and in 2020, we had that terrible storm that hit Hessville bad. So the infrastructure's going in, it's separated, so we have separate storm and sanitary facilities to tie into that won't provide any sort of basement backing up. The system is small enough and the effect of it is small enough where it doesn't require any elaborate sort of detention system. And that lump, that dip in Orchard Drive will be completed, it will be resurfaced as part of the completed project. So it will all be restored as originally constructed or better with new asphalt. So that dip won't be there through the winter, it will
Dean?
be corrected.
So when this is all developed, because, I mean, are you concerned about this? Is this all going to be brand new infrastructure through here, right?
Yeah, we're the city, through the American Rescue Plan Act, set aside $1.4 million for infrastructure improvements.
So it's,
And
although it's a brand new street, basically,
Brand
brand
new
new
street.
infrastructure.
Yep, and it's going to a separated system.
Going to a separated system, so Lisa doesn't have to worry about water from that backing up into her house.
Correct. Water from that development.
Because
will not
you're
back up
better
into-
off than my neighborhood. My neighborhood's not separated.
You're correct, Mayor.
Right. I'm sorry about that. I've never been asked that question. And I was wondering in my head the same thing as soon as you asked it. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. That's a good question. We got to like reevaluate all of our projects and make sure that nothing like that happens again, so. All right.
Okay, regarding the George Lake Clark Field Development and new fire station, please use eco-friendly lights. George Lake is a very important bird migration area. No lights pointed at the lake, please, especially on the new fire station. Birds are hurt by direct lighting. Please keep the lakeside area dark.
I love dark skies. I agree. I love dark skies. And I know that the Port Authority is very sensitive to that. Nicole, hi, what's up? Nicole's here representing Mylan, and she probably wants nothing more than to not talk at Mayor's Night Out. So let's go to Nicole and ask her what she thinks about this, because she's in charge of, you guys do have those types of lights that don't go directly into the sky, right? I know all by the PAV and all that, those lights are like that. Microphone.
I mean, as
Kevin?
far as it's
Do you know?
like, is it specialized lighting or not?
About the lights, yeah.
Standard ornamental lights.
What?
Standard ornamental lights is the design for that subdivision.
Oh,
Just our typical ornamental lights.
so it's not, because like throughout the Port Authority, they have the.
In the park
environmental-
areas, they have sort of like a
It's
gull
like
wing.
it doesn't go up, it
gull
just
wing
reflects
light
it down.
that
right.
reflects off the
So
top.
you're saying that,
We're not doing that in the subdivision. We're using standard
see,
ornamental
we
lighting.
don't sugarcoat it. You have to give us that, right? I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yes, sir, hi. Is that your question?
Yes, it is, Mayor.
Sorry about that.
Thanks, Mayor.
Saying
no,
sorry a lot today.
I understand that the fire station to me is the main concern because the back of the fire station is going to be pointed right towards the lake. So if you could have either no lights or downward lights, and you have no light pollution going out to the lake. George Lake is probably the best bird migration spot in all of Northwest Indiana. Just
I don't
letting
think
you
you're
folks know.
completely out of bounds by asking that, especially if you're like, Jeff, this is our fire chief, Jeff Smith. Hi, Jeff.
Hello. As far as the lighting, I know if it replicates what we have at Station 8 in Hessville, they're not the type of lights that shine up. I will call the architect tomorrow.
From a fire chief point of view, do you really, like, he's being very reasonable saying, on the front along Calumet Avenue, we get it, right? But like behind that station where the birds are migrating, could we be a little bit more sensitive? I think
Yeah, and I will call the architect tomorrow to find out what kind of lights, and if you want to call my office tomorrow, I'll have your answer.
It would be like good neighbor kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to move into a new neighborhood and be jerks, right?
Yep.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Love Mayor's Night Out.
Okay, on to Housing Authority questions.
Yay. Hi, Carmen. Grab a microphone.
Two very similar questions.
You could like determine who doesn't want to talk by how far they are physically away from a microphone on stage.
I was
Carmen
just
is
getting
this-
closer to the door,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Hi, this is Carmen Paniagua. She's been in charge of Hammond Housing Authority for,
11 and a half years now.
and she's a resident of the First District.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
The two questions, very similar. What can be done about homes in the area that are Section 8, too much crime, homes not being kept up?
Okay, thank you for that question. However, the Housing Authority only offers the subsidy for the family, for the assistance. Our extent goes to provide the subsidy, which is the assistance to pay the landlord for the rent, and to ensure that the unit meets the housing quality standards by inspection. If
And
there-
that's more inside though, right?
Yes. So if you are suspecting of any fraud from the family, please do contact my office and we can look into it. However, if it's crime or the outside of the house not being kept up with, I'm sorry, but I can refer you to Nick
Right.
or the Hammond Police Department.
So Nick, could you stand up real quick? Nick's also a resident of, well, are you in the First? No, you grew up in.
Yeah, I'm
you're
in the
still
First,
in
yeah.
North Hammond still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is Nick Farrell. He's in charge of Hammond Code Enforcement for,
I've been employed by the Code Enforcement Department since 2012. In 2018, I took over a commercial inspector position, and then in 2020 is when I took over the commissioner position. So,
okay, so.
yeah, if there's any issues regarding the conditions of the exterior of private property, you can, absolutely use the 311 app. You can call the office or email. We have an inspector for each district. The 5th district inspector is Jason Hawkins. He does an outstanding job, proactive, and works well with everybody that he deals with. So feel free to give us a call. I'll leave some cards on the table for you guys.
And we'll make sure, so by the way, if you want to talk to Nick after, or if you want to talk to any of the department heads after, please go straight up to him. And we'll make sure that Nick gets a copy of this with the addresses on there so we can follow it up we are constantly following things up. And if you make a complaint against your neighbor and it's legit, and we go out there and follow it up, sometimes it's frustrating. Let me use long grass as an example, although we've gotten that under control, seems like, right? This used to be one of my biggest complaints. And we had a process that was archaic, and it took too long. So this gentleman would call in, his neighbor's got lawn that's 3 feet long. Mayor, can you do something about this? And I say, yes, sir, I'm on it. So I call up the law department, I call up code enforcement, and then they got to comply with the law, and the law is archaic, and it takes us 60 days before we can get a court order that says you could cut that lawn as a city and not get arrested. Because we don't want to cut lawns, we can get in trouble for that, right? So a judge has to say, yes, you can cut that neighbor's lawn, and now they give us continuing order, so we don't have to go back every time we need to cut the grass, right? But that takes a long time, and this gentleman's sitting there for 2 months looking at his neighbor, cursing the mayor the whole time. I told the mayor's ignoring me, this is ridiculous, this city stinks, and it's very frustrating. So now we had a system where we put a green sticker that was visible to the neighbors, so the neighbors know. They would call in, he'd say, Mayor, I called you 2 weeks ago. And I said, is there a green sticker on the front? He goes, yeah. I said, yeah. And then I explained, that means we're going through the system, we know about it, and it seems like it's working better now, right, Kevin?
It's working great. I just want to tell a really kind of a cute story about the mayor. He oftentimes will challenge the law department to do things better and quicker. And the law sometimes operates very slowly. In this instance, I just remember him saying to us, look, Kevin, who do you want to make happy? Do you want to make happy the guy with the 2 foot of lawn, or do you want to make happy the neighbor who is cutting his lawn and is complaining about it? And that really was a good eye-opener for all of us, because it challenged us to look at what other communities were doing around the state, and that's when we changed things. We met with Nick, we met with Kelly, the law department, and we determined that South Bend, Carmel, and other communities around the state were taking a different tact at this, and that allowed us to open up this 10-day process versus the old 60-day process. So, I mean, I just want everyone here to know that the mayor he's very much on top of these type of things, and when something comes up to him that is obviously being done incorrectly, he challenges us to find a way to do it correctly, so we did.
And there's certain basic complaints we get hundreds of times. Like, literally. And we hear it like every day, certain complaints. Like, the old one when I first became mayor is, what are you going to do with Woodmar Mall? That was a decade of my life. I got that question 10,000 times probably. And look we finally figured it out. But we still have questions coming at us, and it takes a while to fix it sometimes. So, but we work hard, and we're going to keep working hard. So,
Changing to parks.
all right, let's go.
Two
Jim?
large dying maple trees on the city parkway in front of our house. We have notified the city of this since July 21. Since then, large branches have been falling. One damaged my gutters, and they are still there. We've had forestry out to mark them for destruction, and they've been out twice to trim them, but they are still there.
How many trees are in the city of Hammond, Jim?
How many trees? I've got a tree specialist in the back.
All right, Devin. Devin, just on, not even counting the ones in my yard or my private property, how many trees do you think are in the city of Hammond that you're responsible for?
I couldn't begin to venture a guess.
Oh, you're the
That
trees
many.
are, right?
Yeah.
You should just make up a number.
The trees in the 5th District, right now, we have 154 on the backlog. We've done...
Give me an idea of what we're talking about. Are these like dangerous trees?
Well, there are all kinds of complaints. They could be breaking the sidewalk. They could be low-hanging limbs. This is complaints that cover everything.
How long are you on the list for? Let's say I have this tree that's just horrible, and it's clearly a city responsibility, and you put it on the list.
We had cut that list in half in about a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Coronavirus hit. We did 2 years of no forestry work at all. So that's why we've got a backlog of 154. In the 5th, we've removed 38 since the beginning of the year. There's another 17 with the contractor now. This address could be with the contractor. They could be removed any day.
Okay.
So if you get me the address, I'll follow up with it, and we'll see if we can't get it pushed up. But, one thing people don't realize is that the removal list is always in flux. If we've got a tree that's lifting the sidewalk, and we get one that starts leaning next to a playground, obviously the playground goes up the priority list, and the one affecting the sidewalk goes down. If we get a storm goes through and we have trees falling, they obviously go to the top and everything gets shoved down.
Like MLK Park. I remember a tornado went through MLK Park and knocked all the trees down, and your whole crew is out there for like 2 weeks straight, you know?
Right. And everything else, again, gets shoved down and
Right.
lower on the priority list.
So if I was on, let's say my tree was on the list, I got it on the list. You're talking like a year-ish at least?
Some of the trees have been on there longer, especially since for 2 years we did no work
And
at
it's a
all.
budgetary thing too, because
Yes, correct.
it's not like we can just like, we don't have like an unlimited budget where we can just knock trees down.
There's
right?
only so much we can do in-house. Most of the larger trees we have to send out to a contractor.
How much does it cost to knock a tree down? Big one.
Roughly about $1,000 a tree.
That's it?
Some are more, some are less. So it averages out to about 1,000. And right now, I would say on the backlog, because of the 2 years of not doing any work, we've got over 900 trees.
Okay.
So
get on it. Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it. Devin's great. He's been with the city. How long you been in the city?
12 years.
And you're a Hessville guy, right? Yes. Yep, Hessville guy. So, thank you. Hi, we got follow-ups. I like it when there's follow-ups. Hi, sir.
Last question, I'll
It's
leave
okay.
you all alone.
Yeah.
I believe you got a great staff.
Thank you.
You really do. They're patients, good people. Well, this kind of goes to a
We work for
different-
you. Honestly, that's how
I
we
know
approach
you
our
do.
jobs.
I watch. You got Dave Warple, a great guy. He does a lot for the community. We got a pine tree that's growing on Arizona and 174th. I'm getting ready to get my Christmas decorations and decorate that bush because I got a stop sign going right up through it. So I'd say by next year it's going to say S instead of stop. So is there any way we can get that heads down?
Sure.
Or?
Could you fill that out on the way out? Do you mind?
Yeah, I'll
Even
do
if it
that.
doesn't have to be elaborate.
Yeah.
We could just say tree, 174th, and you know.
It's a hazard.
And then it'll go to Jaime, it'll go to Felix, and then Felix will take it, and then he'll follow it up. Thank you. It's all right. This is what we get paid for. Hi, sir.
Hi, that actually was my question.
Sure. Thank you.
And the thing is...
Did you leave an address on where the tree is,
Yeah,
sir?
yes, I did.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Because like Devin said, you could be on the list right now.
Right, and you know, I understand the budget issues and stuff like that, I get it. My question is, why when twice people were sent out, instead of just removing them, they're just trimmed a bit? Wouldn't it be better to just have it down if they're already there?
Okay.
Wouldn't it be better?
I don't know the answer, but I'm going to tell you some of the pushback we get from the public, okay?
Yeah.
In fact, there's a gentleman that's sitting a couple rows in front of you, I imagine is very concerned about the environment, so we do get a lot of pushback on trees. And I know Devin loves trees. That's why he's the trees are, right? So I imagine that we do what we can to try to save the trees that are savable, but sometimes that's not possible. Is that accurate?
And so, because like, I mean, I actually wanted to keep them, but they just were rotting out.
Okay.
And the other question that I was going to
You
ask...
did fill out a form with
Oh,
the
yeah.
address.
I used the 311.
Because it'll hit my, good, it'll hit my desk and I'll follow you up specifically, I promise.
So, and the other thing was, during one of the storms, about 2 years after I submitted it, one of the large branches fell on my house, and it damaged the gutters. So, I just want to know, is the city responsible for that damage?
I mean, I'm not one that usually gives away liability on live TV.
All right.
So,
Well,
like, I would
because-
urge you to contact my law department on that.
Well,
you know?
I sent an email to the law department. I never really got a
Okay.
response. But the issue was because, you know, I have 5 trees on my property, one of which was in my backyard, and I know I'm responsible for that.
Yes, sir.
And it was dying, and it's right next to my neighbor's house, and it's right underneath it is his kid's jungle gym. So I shelled out the money and got the thing taken care of.
Nice.
You know, so I'm just wanting the same thing done on the other side. So
Thank you. Thanks for filling out the form. I'll follow it up, I promise. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is the city using anything in the parkways on the grass? Because in the last 2 years, we have had a problem with grubs and moles in the yard. Whatever they are spraying, can't they protect our yards?
Okay. I could tell you, I live by a parkway. I was just noticing the other day how nice it looked. I don't know what's going on this parkway. Jim, you spraying anything?
The Parkway, that might be more of a Felix question than me. I think they handle a lot of the
good call.
parkways.
Felix, you spraying anything?
Sorry, Felix.
No, we are not. We do spray like weed killer like around certain areas, but like nothing really.
Because usually when I see you guys, I live
we
by,
we cut and like weed whack and all
but like usually when I see them, they're going like 25 miles an hour. They're not going slow at all. They're just flying by. I don't see them spraying anything where I
that.
live.
No, they're not spraying anything. They
So we
just-
don't
they
like
pretty much
spray
just
any
cut
grub
and
control.
weed
It's
whack.
just naturally growing.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So Hi, ma'am. So did you fill out an address on this? Is this your question? Cool.
That's my question, because up until 3 years ago, I never had this
And
problem
I know where you
in
live
my
now.
yard.
You live on Chestnut.
Now, all of a sudden, every time you all do work over there, all of a sudden I got these neighbors coming in, tearing my yard up. I done tried True Green, I done Menard at Home Depot, know me, when I walk in that department. Again, I done bought them, if you come in my yard, you hear, because I done bought all these things to get these things away. And then every time, y'all, when you all over there today, I guarantee you, in 2 or 3 days, I'm gonna start seeing these things come up in my yard. And I don't know why that is, but it's been happening. And it just started within the last 2 to 3 years, when y'all start planting them trees. I love trees, but something's going on.
No, I'm not saying it's related, but he's been in charge of Public Works for like 2 years now. I'm not saying it's related, but it's suspicious, you know? I'm just kidding. Felix is doing a great job. So. All right.
Okay. Sportsplex question.
All right. My
Hammond
favorite.
Sportsplex Center at 6 o'clock in the morning for seniors.
What's that now?
Hammond Sportsplex Center at 6 in the morning for seniors.
They want it open that early?
I'm thinking that's what they're at. There's no name on there.
Yeah.
It just says, I think they
Okay.
want it open at 6.
I can tell you, and I'm going to pass off to the other host today, Kim, who's running the Sportsplex. Conveniently, she's here. The Sportsplex is a very demanding place. If there's one thing I've learned since we've opened it, is it's incredibly successful, and it's incredibly hard to keep people there because it's hard work. You know, the supervision there works. They can work 60-hour weeks easy. It's a demanding place. It's open late on the weekends. They operate at different hours. They're off. You're off Mondays and Tuesdays, or in that ballpark, right, Kim?
We're open 7 days a week.
Right,
We
but-
kind of take a day off
Because
here
you
or
can't work
there.
7 days a week.
Right. So between Monday and Thursday is when we take our off day, but we're there Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right. So what time on a weekend do you get there?
On a weekend, if it's a tournament, we get there sometimes as early as 5:30 in the morning to open up.
And you'll be there until when?
Sometime. I mean, the latest we've been there is 2:30 in the morning
Right.
on same day.
So like you could be doing, so you and all the other supervisors, they do shift work like, or
Yeah,
you guys
we
take?
split it up into a couple different shifts.
So you're
not
working
all of us
weekends.
are there.
So your supervisors are working weekends.
Correct.
Your staff is working weekends. So like, and then I know that one of the big sells of the Sportsplex, one of the big things we wanted to do is put that walking track up top, and it's incredibly successful. And I know you love it, and I know all the Hammond residents that use it, it's important, but I don't even know what time it opened, but I know it's incredibly successful. What time does it open currently?
So we open Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. On the weekends, when we don't have a tournament, we open at 9 a.m. and we go till close, which is 9 o'clock at night. So
But
we're
like, the
already
only
open.
reason you're open that early is for the walkers, though, right?
Correct, yes.
Because there's no sports taking place,
Right.
tournaments, anything like that. So you're literally open at 8 a.m. for the walkers, and then we have supervisors that are going to be there the rest of the day until you close, basically.
Yes, that's correct.
So to open up at 6 a.m. would be 2 hours of additional
That would be
burden.
15-hour work days. I mean, not that we'd work the whole 15 straight, but
Right.
that's a lot of open time on my staff.
Right, and it's really not busy time. As far as like, you know, it's busy as far as the walkers, you know, obviously it's important. And it's a
Yes.
big part of our community and we appreciate it, but it's not like lucrative. We don't charge. So the walkers are getting it for free, which is wonderful. That's what we like. But if we, you know, so it's something, I appreciate the suggestion. It's the first time I've been asked that. I promise you we'll look it up. I'll talk to Kim, I'll talk to Jim, and we'll see if it's possible, but it's hard, so.
Last one.
Any follow-ups with that, Sportsplex? How many people in here have never been to a Sportsplex? If you're not too embarrassed to raise your hand. Yeah? Okay, nice. You should go, it's really cool. Free walking, it's beautiful. Hi, Janice. You walk to sports? What time do you usually get there, Janice?
As we get there at 10:30, sometimes 11. It depends on how my husband feels.
And is it a lot of people in there?
Some days they're packed. You really.
Yeah. That's great.
Great, it's a
Because
great
I know you
thing.
walk a lot when it's nice out. You walk around the parkway and all that. So when it's not so nice, you take
In
it
the
to
winter, we're in the sports complex.
Nice.
Thank you again.
And they didn't charge you anything, nothing like
That's
that?
fantastic. We
Cool.
love it.
Thank you. All right. Last questions, my favorite
Last one.
question.
It's more of a commercial for the Jefferson PTA. They would like people to join their PTA for only $10, and they can add your name to the list in their newsletter.
All right. Guys, I want to say thank you for coming to Mayor's Night. I appreciate you. I want you to know that, right now we have some issues in the first district. We're working all the time trying to make this city perfect, and I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I promise that's what our goal is. So thank you for coming to Mayor's Night Out. Next Mayor's Night Out's in the 4th District on October 11th. Is that the makeup? I think that's the makeup. That's the makeup. Councilman Emerson's going to be hosting that one October 11th at Edison Elementary School. Thank you again to our superintendent of Hammond Schools, Scott Miller, for letting us use Jefferson Elementary School. Thank you to our host councilman, the excellent Councilman Dave Warple. Thank you, everybody.